Tonight, Europe faces a crisis threatening its most iconic industry. A high-level EU delegation is in Beijing, urgently pleading for the release of rare earth shipments. These materials are the lifeblood of Europe's auto industry, and without them, production is grinding to a halt. Major car makers like Volkswagen and BMW have announced unprecedented slowdowns. Some assembly lines will go dark next week. The cause, a crippling shortage of rare earth magnets and semiconductors, components almost entirely sourced from China. What was once a simmering supply chain issue has exploded into an acute economic emergency. Millions of jobs and Europe's industrial sovereignty hang in the balance. This is not just about trade, it's about power and dependence. Europe's push for electric vehicles overlooked a critical vulnerability, outsourcing the very materials needed for the green transition. Now, with tensions high, China's export controls have become a geopolitical weapon. EU officials in Beijing are negotiating from a position of weakness, asking a rival for a lifeline. The question, what price will China demand, and can Europe afford to pay? The scenes in Beijing are tense. Closed-door meetings, strained exchanges, and a sense of desperation. The message from China is clear. Europe's green ambitions run through Beijing. This is a defining moment for Europe's resilience in a world where supply chains are the new front lines. The future of Europe's auto industry and its economic identity hangs in the balance. The world is watching to see how Europe responds. Beyond the diplomatic drama, the real pain is felt by workers on the ground. In factories from Germany to Italy, assembly lines have fallen silent. Workers like Klaus, a 30-year veteran, stand idle, orders in hand, but no parts to build with. "We survived recessions," Klaus says, "but this is different. We just don't have the parts." Thousands are being furloughed, their futures uncertain. The silence in the factories is the sound of lost wages and mounting anxiety. For every assembly line job, 4 more in the supply chain are at risk. Small businesses that make seats, wiring, and components are being hit hardest. Many may not survive a prolonged shutdown. Local economies in factory towns are freezing. Shop owners and service providers feel the chill. The crisis is eroding confidence in Made in Europe. Skilled workers now question if their jobs will exist next year. Young apprentices wonder if manufacturing has a future. The social fabric of industrial Europe is fraying. Empty parking lots outside factories are stark reminders of a problem that began in distant mines, but now threatens entire communities. The damage is no longer in question, only its duration. Europe's industrial heart is under threat. The human cost is mounting by the day. At the core of this crisis are rare earth elements, 17 metals essential for modern technology. They're not truly rare, but processing them is complex, dirty, and expensive. These elements power everything from smartphones to electric cars and wind turbines. The powerful magnets in EV motors, made from rare earths. Without them, Europe can't build competitive electric vehicles or meet its green energy goals. For decades, the West let China handle the mining and refining. Now, Europe is paying the price. China controls about 60% of mining, but nearly 90% of global processing capacity. This dominance is no accident. It's the result of decades of strategic investment and government support. While Europe offshored dirty industries, China consolidated control over the resources of the future. Now, China holds the keys to Europe's industrial engine and isn't afraid to use them. Europe's green and digital ambitions are built on a fragile foundation. The events of this week show just how vulnerable that foundation is. The question, can Europe regain control before it's too late? The clock is ticking. In Brussels, urgency is at an all-time high. The EU's diplomatic scramble extends far beyond Beijing. Leaders are reaching out to Australia, Canada, and Africa for new raw material partnerships. The goal: diversify supply chains and end reliance on China. But new mines and processing plants take years to develop. Too late for today's crisis. The EU is fast-tracking its Critical Raw Materials Act, aiming to boost domestic mining and recycling. Ambitious targets face resistance from local communities wary of environmental impacts. The "not in my backyard" sentiment is a major obstacle. For now, the focus remains on China. EU diplomats walk a tightrope, seeking cooperation without confrontation. Europe has little leverage. China knows the pain is felt most acutely in Europe. Concessions on trade or technology may be on the table just to get shipments moving. It's a humbling moment for a continent that once set the rules. Europe's industrial future now depends on the outcome of these tense negotiations. The crisis ripples far beyond the factory floor. Suppliers across Europe are in turmoil, orders cancelled, businesses at risk, dealerships report shrinking inventories, waiting lists for new electric vehicles are growing again, customers face year-long delays, eroding confidence in the EV transition. With fewer cars available, prices for both new and used vehicles are set to spike. For many, a car is essential. Rising prices squeeze household budgets and slow the economy. Europe's climate goals are also at risk. The mandated shift to EVs by 2035 depends on reliable supply chains. If automakers can't deliver, the green transition could stall. The crisis that began in a distant mine now threatens to wash away years of climate policy. Europe's ambitions are on the line. This is more than a trade dispute. It's a geopolitical chess match. China's export restrictions are a warning. De-risking from China has consequences. Europe is now rethinking its entire industrial strategy. Strategic autonomy has become a top priority. Governments are taking a more active role in securing critical resources. The EU's plan diversifies suppliers, onshore production, and creates strategic stockpiles of rare earths and other materials. Each approach faces challenges: diplomatic hurdles, local opposition, and high costs. China won't stand by. It may undercut new European producers and strengthen ties with other resource-rich nations. Europe is betting it can build autonomy faster than its dependencies can cripple it. The stakes: industrial survival and geopolitical relevance. The outcome will shape Europe's future for decades. The gamble is on. Can Europe win? Europe's auto and tech giants are racing to innovate their way out of crisis. Engineers are focused on two fronts: recycling and substitution. Europe's urban mine of discarded electronics holds valuable rare earths, but extracting them is a technical challenge. Startups and established firms are making breakthroughs in recycling, with EU support. If scaled, this could supply a significant share of Europe's needs. The second path: designing motors that use fewer or no rare earths. Companies like Renault are already deploying alternative motor technologies. Developing competitive substitutes is a monumental engineering challenge, but progress is accelerating. Billions in public and private R&D are fueling this innovation race. The goal: a sovereign European technology, free from geopolitical risk. The crisis could be the catalyst for a leap forward, if Europe can move fast enough. The clock is ticking. The rare earth shortage is only part of the problem. Europe also faces a deepening semiconductor crisis. Modern cars are packed with chips. Without them, production stops. Europe designs world-class vehicles but relies on Asia for advanced chips, especially from Taiwan and South Korea. The pandemic exposed this vulnerability, and it's never been fully resolved. Geopolitical tensions around Taiwan threaten to make today's crisis look minor. China's rare earth actions are seen as a test of Western resolve. The EU's CHIPS Act aims to double Europe's share of global chip production, but new fabs take years to build. Several projects are underway, but they won't solve today's shortages. Europe's industrial future depends on securing both rare earths and semiconductors. The race for supply chain security is on. Europe stands at a historic crossroads. The choices made now will shape its economy and global role for decades. The urgent need for resources clashes with environmental values, dividing governments and citizens. Consumers face higher prices and job losses. Taxpayers will fund the massive investment needed for autonomy. This is a generational reckoning, a test of Europe's unity and resolve. The crisis could drive greater EU integration or spark fragmentation and competition among member states. The soul of Europe's single market is at stake. The green and digital transitions depend on rebuilding a secure foundation. The challenge is immense, but standing still is not an option. The world is watching to see which path Europe will choose.